Hello guys, recently I had a shoot with my Mavic 3 Pro and recently released Mini 5 Pro, and I found it a little bit tough to get the footage to the same look, and today I just decided to do some comparison test between both, how image quality applies, shooting in D-Log, D-Log M in both drones. Also we will test out Mavic 3 Pro image quality and also how it compared to the Mini 5 Pro footage in terms of the look of the image in post-production. So um, what I done for our Mini 5 Pro, I put ND filter 8 there, and the reason for that because f-stop on the lens is 1.7 and Mavic 3 Pro, even on the main lens, cannot achieve that amount of light coming in, so I think it's 2.8. So what I done is I put ND filter 8, which was coming with the drone, which effectively reducing the f-stop by 3, right? So, and now we will go through and set some settings first on Mini 5 Pro, and then we will replicate the same on the Mavic 3 Pro. So let me just start recording the screen.
Approached edge of altitude zone.
Okay. So as you can see here, I already put some settings over here. So we will record both drones with 4K 60 FPS. We will record on Mini 5 Pro with D-Log M, and we will set our white balance at 5700. And also I already preset here that we will shoot with ISO 400, and the reason why we are at 400 and not 100 because Mavic 3 records at 400 minimal in D-Log profile. So with that said, so now we're here with 2500 of a second over the shutter speed, and that's basically our set, right? Now I will now switch on our Mavic. So waiting for connect, and I will also do the screen recording.
Approached edge of altitude zone.
Okay, so we're here. So let me just also start recording the screen. Now, so in order to, and Mavic 3 Pro is coming at f2.8 as a minimal. So I done some calculations at home, and basically to bring both drones to the same exposure level, and I will put some mass description later on when I will do the video, but effectively our f-stop on Mavic should be 4 f divided by 4.6 stops. Right now I don't think we do have it actually here, so let's see. Yeah, we do have 4.5, which is effectively pretty close. The footage will be a little bit underexposed, but this is the closest as we can get, right? So now if you will check here in the camera, I am shooting in D-Log, and we will do the same recording in D-Log M as well, just to compare both. So let me start recording again. So now we will do a correction recording. So let me just change the shutter speed to the same as we have on Mini 5 Pro, so that's the correct one. So now let's do the recording again. So let's record a few seconds of video just to have great later on. And now we're shooting in D-Log M on Mavic 3 Pro. So let me just stop recording of both. And I will switch to D-Log now. Yeah. So now let's do the recording again. So let's record few videos of footage, seconds of footage. Okay, I think that's enough. Actually, I forgot to push the recording, so I will do the recording now. Just to have side-by-side comparison of exact same footage. Okay, so we're done with this one. So the next one, what I want to do, I want to switch to our 3x lens, the telemode. And as you can see, we're blown out now completely. So I will, yeah, keep the recording there. So now what we need to do, we need to change our f-stop value because the f-stop of this camera is different. So let me just check my cheat sheet over here. Okay. Yeah, so 70 millimeters. Unexpectedly, my phone fall. Let me just grab it. Okay, we're back. So, our 70 millimeter lens is at 2.8. Right now, on this lens, we cannot change the f-stop value because it's fixed. But what we could do, we could make 3 times faster shutter, and realistically, it should match our both drones in terms of the image. So let me go the shutter speed over here. So we need 7,500 if we have it. Let's just see. Okay, so the max we have on Mavic is 1/8,000 of a second. So it will be a little bit darker compared to what I see on the histogram. But let me do instead 1,600 for over a second. And later on probably I will remove ND filter and we will shoot it again with probably same settings and try to match it as close as possible. But for now I will go with 6,400 per second. And later on in post we will need to compensate it slightly. So let's record this one. Let's record this one. Okay, we have both. So now this is in D-Log M. It doesn't have D-Log, so let me stop shooting here. Let me just cross-check if it's actually in D-Log. Yes, it is. So, and the last thing that we will do, we will actually switch to 7x zoom on Mavic. And now we will need to change again the ISO, not the ISO, sorry. We will need to change the shutter speed. All right. So let me do that. So we keep in ISO at 400. And now we need to change the shutter speed. So it will be double from what we have over here on Mini 5 Pro. So it will be 1/5000 of a second. That should potentially match both drones. Okay, so I will record Mini 5 Pro, I will record Mavic. Let me show it's set to focus on the trees. Okay, that's enough for the footage. Now what we will do, I will just cross-check what was the 3x settings. Okay, yeah, it was correct ISO, and then the shutter speed. Okay, so I think we're good over here in terms of recording the footage. And then we will come back. I will put all of this in DaVinci Resolve, and we will actually see what are we doing and how all these footages are working together. Thank you. See you in studio.
Okay, so I'm back home and now we will check the footage that we recently shot and see how both drones working together. Now, but before that, I would like to touch a little bit the mathematics behind the process. So one of the important thing is the ND filters, and as you can see over here, doubling the ND filter number effectively blocks one more stop, right? Now, and this formula over here is the calculation of conversion of the base f-stop value of the drone to the adjusted f-stop value with the ND filter, right? So this is important if we're planning to shoot, for example, with Mini 5 Pro and Mavic drone, so that we can adjust our f-stop value. So in our case, we had ND8, which was 3 stops. So f value was 0.8, and that's why we set it as close as possible to this value. I think it was 4.5. The next kind of a cheat sheet I just would like to introduce here is the relation of the shutter speed to the amount of light that passes through the sensor. And if our base shutter, for instance, is 1/60 of a second, so it's 0, as you can see, doubling the shutter implements one full stop of blocking the light, similar to what a D filter is doing. That's why when we was shooting on Mavic 3 with the fixed f-stop value that we cannot tweak, we was doing this multiplication of the shutter 3 times for the 70mm lens and 2 times for the telephoto lens, which is 166mm. Now, and this is a little more detailed explanation of converting Mini 5 Pro f-stop value to the Mavic 3 Pro value, right? So it's just a little bit more detailed, just in case you would like to take a look at that. And the last thing I just want also to show here is the cheat sheet of matching Mini 5 Pro within the filter 8, 32 and 128, which come with the package, to the Mavic 3 Pro values, right? But as you can see within D128, it's mostly impossible for Mavic to reach it. So you will have also to put ND filter on Mavic in order to compensate the difference. And I actually started doing some experiments before recording this video, and I found out that there is significant jump, unexpected completely from my side in terms of the color temperature of both drones. So, and instead of just looking at the scenery that we shot over here, I decided to do like a more in-house experiment, and I will show you some of my findings. And this is what I shot. This is kind of the Macbeth chart, which basically used most of the time in visual effects to match the color of the footage to neutralize it. And over here, I'm just using some printout. It's not scientific colors here, but for our purpose, it's enough. So as you can see over here, and I will explain what I actually shot, right? So the first footage here is the footage from Mini 5 Pro with ND filter on, because I was thinking that maybe this is, and it's common thing that ND filters actually introduce color tint because of different wavelengths passing through the filter. And I was thinking that maybe it's just ND filter from DJI that is introducing that shift of the color temperature. That's why I decided, okay, I will shoot it twice without ND filter and with. So this is with ND filter, this is without. And as you can see, so these two footages, I already set the color temperature over here. So this is kind of our natural white color, and this is what I was trying to match in general, regardless of what's happening on the edge of the frame, because they not matching one to one, right? But this value here, so this is the RGB value after temperature shift, and you see it's pretty close, right? It's like 159, 58, 162, so it's pretty close to the neutral white color. Now, and same, I done over here. Yeah, there was a difference, so I just removed it. And here, the second one without ND filter, and if I will check the values, they're also pretty close, right? So it's 62, 58, 160. And there is few things to consider. The first one, if you will check the waveform in the scope over here, and this is the without ND filter, right? And it's, you see, it's, the line is pretty straight because the background was white with the white wall. And if I will switch now to the ND filter, you see how it's curving to the edges. And what that generally means that our ND filter, which comes with the package from DJI of the Mini 5 Pro, is darkening, like vignetting the frame quite a lot on the edges. So in order to compensate it, if you want, you can use a vignette node over here in DaVinci. So I will just enable it now and you will see what it is doing. Right, so it's, I just set the composite mode to art, so it actually brightens the edges. And this is the, you can tweak the softness, all of the details depending on what we have. You can change also the shape if you need, and if for some reason the filter have different shape. But in this particular case, if I will just start tweaking the transparency here, just to show you what it is doing. So this is without application of any correction, right? And then I'm starting to introduce a little bit of the brightening up on the edges. And as you can see, it's getting brighter and it's straight line, right? So this is before, this is after. So this is actually how much ND filters that comes with the drone darkening the edges. But this is not the only problem that I found. Another problem, if you will check over here, and this is already with the grading to match the temperature so that it was natural white, right? You see here, this is within the filter. So we have a shift of temperature from 5700 Kelvin, like minus 28, and there is a little bit of tint towards the green value. Now, and I was thinking, okay, this is what I was telling in the beginning, that probably without ND filter it will be all great and nice, and we will have no of the temperature shift from right. And again, one more thing I just want to notice here, obviously when I was shooting it, it's not perfectly 5700 Kelvin, so there is a little bit of cast from the floor, from other walls in the room. But let's say this is our kind of situation with the ND8 filter, right? So this is our etalon. Now let's see how behaving the footage without ND filter on the Mini 5 Pro. So now I'm shifting to this, and as you can see with the natural grade applied, so that we had white color over here, it's actually almost double in terms of the temperature shift. So, and that's really unexpected. right? So originally, if I will just disable these two grades and you will check the look, you will actually see, well, it was darker um, because I was not able to match precisely the shutter, right? But let me just disable the vignetting. But as you can see here, the footage without any filter actually much more warm than without. So ND filter actually making the footage looking a little bit more cold. And the difference of values, this is minus 128, this is minus 390. So I would assume the quality of these DJI filters is not that great, first of all, and probably the more third-party filters will come out and we will able to switch to something more reliable. But the fact that without ND filter, it's actually shifted that much from the value of 5700, that's a little bit surprising to me. And I will show you now as well how Mavic 3 Pro behaving in the same condition. And this is what I was comparing with like an etalon, basically how another drone behaving in the same scenario. And as you will see here, so I actually shot with D-Log-M. This is the D-Log-M footage. This footage is the D-Log. And for whatever reason, D-Log-M is also a little bit tends to go green on the edges, even though this value over here is also matched to the same value, right? It's 159 and it's white, but the walls are getting yellow and green. The D-Log one is more successful in terms of the look. And you can actually see on the color temperature shift, in order to neutralize it, it's so minimal on the temperature, like it's just 11.4, and there is still slight tint there to neutralize it, but in general it doesn't require that huge of a like shifting the temperature, right? So the difference between, and yeah, you can see here that both of them, this is the D-Log, which is just value of 3 of temperature shift and slight tint, and this is the D-Log-M that has a little bit more, but still it's not anywhere close to this shift that we have here. In reality, what I would assume that Mini 5 Pro would deliver something closer to this or to this in terms of the shift of the temperature in the same conditions. But it's like almost 400 temperature shift relative to Mavic 3 Pro. And this is really unexpected, and I don't know, is it just my drone or it's the batch or everybody else is just have all these values floating around. In my opinion, if you set it to 5700 without ND filter, it should be just both matching on both drones. Like, I just don't see a point why it's not the case, right? So this leads to conclusion. So whenever you flying with few drones and you capturing the footage and you planning to have it in one edit, probably you just have to go with the white paper and just do the white balance before flight, set it, lock it. It will be different for both drones. So for example, for Mavic it will be probably 5700, and then on Mini 5 Pro you will just have around 5300, right? And both footages will look similar. So anyways, that's for this exercise over here, just to understand what's happening. And now we will actually jump to the footage that we shot and see if it's same mathematics going there or it's different. Now we're here with the footage, and let me just show you. I already pre-graded everything, but I will just go through everything and I will explain what I done and why I done that way. So the first thing here we have is our Mini 5 Pro footage, and I'm not tweaking it at all. So we just have the DJI D-Log-M LUT, and that's it. There is nothing on this grade, right? So we keep in like etalon and just trying to match Mavic footage to this footage. And let me show the next thing over here. So this is the Mavic 3 Pro footage shot with D-Log-M color space, and this is the difference between both after I tried to match it as close as possible. Right, there is still some difference in few areas, and again, remember that we have this ND filter on, so it's also doing that vignetting on the edges. So if you want neutralize it, you can do it, but I was not doing this in this particular case. But the central portion should be still intact and pretty bright and uniform. It's pretty close in terms of the greenery, in terms how sky is behaving. It's a little bit different, but the water and everything looking quite the same. Now, in terms of the color, I will just show you what I done over here. So as you can see here, we have a temperature shift of 150, and also there is a little bit of grading happening over here just to make it a little bit darker, because we was a little bit open on the stop value, right? But that's mostly it. So I didn't touch anything else in this particular case. And the only thing that it's a general thing for all of the cameras, Mavic on the Mavic versus Mini 5 Pro. Mini 5 Pro tends to oversaturate in general the footage. And I will show you here. So as you can see here, the saturation is set to 60 on the footage. So by default, it's coming like this out of the box without tweaking anything. And if I will just go back and forth, you will actually see that the greenery is a little bit more dull, and it's, you know, just screaming boost the saturation, right? For the sky, for the water, for everything. For D-Log, so for the D-Log-M, it's around 60, which I found working pretty nicely. And one thing just to notice as well, so I'm always working with scopes or with parade or other modes of the scopes. Just take a look not only on the image itself, but also there how closely you matched blues, reds, and greens, right? It's obviously not the same, but I try to match as close as possible. So if I will just disable the grade, that's the difference, right? It's a little bit of shift, and then if you notice when you doing the saturation, it actually expands the range, right? So in our case, if you match the green and you just need a little bit of moving the blue and red down, you can do it with the saturation in this particular case. Now, so that's for the main camera of Mavic 3 Pro. The only thing I just also would like to show you is the difference of the D-Log footage with the D-Log-M. And to my opinion, this is the perfect image in terms of the real world colors, because I was shooting as well on my DSLR camera, and I was getting kind of similar color tones, gradients, and saturation as well for the greenery. And as you can see here, if I will just go to the grade, you see I'm boosting in D-Log footage, I'm boosting even more. So if I will just set it to 50, it will just look like almost desaturated versus Mavic Mini 5 Pro footage. So for the D-Log, you have to boost it quite a lot in order to bring to the same level if you're trying to match to Mini 5 Pro, right? So 75 for this one. Now, the second thing I just want to show you, and we will now quickly move to other two lenses of Mavic 3 Pro. And you will maybe wondering like what it is, why it is so small. Well, the reason for that, and I will explain why. Let me just expand this. So this is the original footage. Let me just return back the transforms. Right, so this is our 70mm lens with the greater already. But why I'm doing this, right? So I'm just will zoom in over here just to show you what exactly I was doing. So the idea here is that you're scaling it down to match the original footage. You're doing the scale, in this case it's 0.32, and a little bit of position offset just to match it as close as possible. And let me just increase a little bit opacity. I will just translate for this specific frame a little bit more. Yeah. So that's it. So it's pretty close in terms of the position now. And if I will just disable now the grade for this specific footage, right? This is what it is coming out of the box without any tweaks. And what it's good about of having it like this, because you're not first of all switching back and forth, but also take a look at the scope over here. So I will just add a fresh node just to show you what's going on and how I am tweaking it in order to match to the footage. Right, so first we know this footage is a little bit darker versus our another layer here. So I will just go to HDR and I will slightly start boosting the exposure until, let's say, the green value here and the blue matching as close as possible, right? And also red is moving pretty nicely. So the next thing I want to see is the shadows. So this footage here looks a little bit too contrasted to me. So maybe what I would like to do, I would just like to bring a little bit of the shadow, just lift it up, right? So something like this. And as you can see, we kind of getting there. And I just done a slightly tint, which is very minimal. The only thing that I done here, I slightly increased the shadows in this node, right? Because it was getting like that. So I just boosted the shadows. And also, as you can see here, I slightly reduce the gain of blue. So it's really subtle, but it makes a difference. As you see here, it's a little bit blue. You could technically try to do it with the temperature as well, just to tweaking more to the warm tones and then just play with the exposure a little bit, right? So let's actually try to do this. So then we have to go here and probably just slightly expose down. It's a little bit more warm still, so let's try to match it. Yeah, I think somewhere over there I'm just starting to don't recognize the difference. So yeah, you could tweak the gain if you want to compensate the temperature, but if you want just to tweak the temperature, something like that is probably the good thing to match it as close as possible for the sky, and vegetation is also looking pretty close. Now there is some of these dark reds over here that I don't like in the water. So, and the thing how that can be corrected, right? What we could do, let's give it a try. So you go into this curves and hue versus hue, and actually you can specify the point of what you want to change, and it will just change that region. So let me just do a picker somewhere, this in the shadow. So it's, but I am assuming now it will tweak the whole sky. If I will just try to change the hue. Yeah, you see it's changing all the blues. So we have to contract the region and just try to isolate it even more, and maybe it's a little bit more in the red there, so we will have to shift it just to see where the effect is happening. It's doing, but doing very minimal stuff, because as you can see, it's not touching the histogram over there. Right, so let me just do that. Yeah, so it's should be pretty, minimal adjustment, just in order to try to match it with the color of the water, like really subtle. So something like that, for instance, but then the sky starting to get a little bit more blue. So it's a trade-off, and you can use masking and all that stuff, right? But this is one of the way of tweaking it. And another uh, thing that you probably could use a lot of these modes there. So let's say if you don't want greenery, or you want actually greener to be more saturated, so you can go to hue versus saturation. You can sample your green color there. Well, it's actually red, so let's find something green. Yeah, something over here, right? So it's getting a point for you. And then if you will just start boosting the saturation, you can actually see it's just boosting that particular region. And if you want to expand it, you can just do something like that. And also you can boost the reds and green. And now when you're changing it, right, just the greens are changing and the water stays exactly the same. So sometimes you need to do this as well, if you would like to. But that's for this footage here. And we will jump now to the next lens. So the next lens is this one, and I done exactly same exercise. So I just put original close-up footage, shoot from 166mm lens, and just put it on top with the scale. And let me just, because the camera was still moving with the wind, so let me just cross-check that it's actually matching position-wise. So I might need to move it slightly up and down. Yeah, something like this. Yeah. And as you can see here, it's not one-to-one match, but it's pretty close. So maybe what I need to do, I need to boost a little bit more of the shadows, just a tiny bit, because it's even on the water, it's a little bit too contrasty, right? So let me just do that. Yeah, so something like that. And it also, as you can see, the water tends to go to this reddish tint a little bit. But maybe it's just the lens, or I'm not sure, because the sky is matched pretty close on the right side. On the left it's getting a little bit warm tones, but let's actually see what was the gradient here. So it's 290 to the warmer. Maybe just went a little bit too much, but it's really subtle changes. So 220. But if you will match it here, it will not match anyway. Here it's getting blue, right? So but I think that kind of match like this, if you will have edit in the card, you will don't get any difference visible. So, and that's mostly it for this shoot. But after this shoot, I actually went to another location, and the idea behind that, I shot another scenery, and I was thinking if I can just copy these grades to some different shots, will it even work, right? So let me jump to that footage as well. And it is somewhere over here. Yeah. So this is another location, and it has exactly same scenario. So I was keeping color temperature, ISO fixed, and I was doing exactly the same as we was doing on the first location. And this is the Mini 5 Pro footage, and I done exactly same exercise here. Just let me move this one, and I will disable this for now. This one for now. So that's the D-Log footage of Mavic 3 Pro, and it was actually clipping because we was opening the gate a little bit more, right? So, but everything else is pretty close after the grade. And it has exactly, again, I copied same grades from the previous shot. And as you can see here, it have the same tints, it has almost same exposure tweaks, right? So it's all of that is the same. And this is the clipping which I was talking about. And if I will just disable the grade, you will see the difference, right? So this is before, this is after. And the most offender here, as we already figured out, and the situation is also same, is the temperature, right? Because if you will take a look closer to these stones, if I will just set it to 0 for now, this is the original shot, and this is the Mini 5, and it's like so different. So and it's same as everywhere. So there is no exception. So you will have always to compensate the color temperature, at least in my case with my drones that I have. Maybe in your case you have better matching batches, but mine is like this. So it would be great if you can, if you have two drones, if you can just do a shoot and actually check if you have matching color temperature on both drones, because for me this is ridiculous, and I would like to know if this is just my drone or it's just completely random and it's jumping over the place regardless if it's same drone or not. So that's this, and then as you can see, right, let me just enable the footage. So I done same exercise. This is 70mm lens, and I tried to match it as close as possible. But I was just again copying from that grade to this one, and it was getting pretty close. So maybe I have to tweak just a tiny bit of the temperature or brightness or and contrast. But in general, it was getting correct values, at least in greenery and sky. All of that was matching pretty close. And again, it's not exact match. There's slight change over here. I can see the difference and also the water, but if you want to go that granular, you have to tweak individual and do some masking if needed. But if it's just cut and edit, then it should be pretty close. Now, one thing I just want also to mention, this is again Mini 5 Pro footage. This is the D-Log of the Mavic. And even though you see how different actually some of the yellows, even though I am boosting saturation to match the other greens. Right? So, and also over here you can actually see how it changes. The red tint, because this is more orangey, this is like yellow. So it's really hard to match one-to-one. You can get it close, but one-to-one is almost impossible, at least to the Mavic 3 drone in my case. And I done also same exercise with the 166mm lens, and I just will show you um, in 100% resolution that footage. It's actually pretty amazing what this drone can do. So we have some nice birds flying there. And I'm not using this camera a lot while shooting. It's more like exploration camera to me. But I'm using quite a lot the 70mm lens, which gives a little bit different perspective, which you cannot achieve with the wide angle lens. So and if we come back here, this is original 70mm lens, and this is the footage from 166mm lens. And if I will just match it a little bit closer because it was windy, so the camera was moving. So I will just translate it a little bit like that. Yeah. So that's the difference, right? So it's 70mm lens footage, and then this is 166. So, and if I will just show you the grading, it's same story here. Temperature shift 150. And then I tweaked a little bit the blues here, the saturation of the sky, because it was not coming in. A little bit fun contrast, and again the global exposure and shadows are quite different in both drones, so you will have to compensate it. So the main takeaway from this, at least for myself, and hopefully it was also helpful for you guys. So the ND filter which comes with the package of the Mini 5 Pro, to me it's a little bit low quality because it has that vignetting, and also it doing pretty significant color shift from non-ND filter camera, which is almost 200 difference in kelvins. Another takeaway is that for some reason my Mini 5 Pro has huge color shift related to the Mavic 3 Pro. Now I was not completely expecting to have that huge shift for both drones. So, and yeah, in general you can match it pretty close. So you could shoot with two drones together and get desired result. But if you have few drones, Mini 4 Pro, Mini 5 Pro, please do the comparison. Just shoot maybe same Macbeth chart or just white paper, and just put in the comments if you have same problems like I do. Because if you have everything is perfect on your side, then maybe I just need to return my drone because I'm a little bit confused with such output. And if you like this kind of content, please give me thumbs up, subscribe if you would like to see more content like this. And I really hope that this was a useful tutorial for you guys and investigation. And fly safe and happy flying in general. Thank you guys.